Okay, part 19 of the haul truck series. As you could probably see behind me, the cab is off, so you probably know where this chapter is going with this thing. What I am going to do though is I'm going to throw some video clips of me trying to remove the steering wheel off of the column before I got the entire column out. I still have not gotten the steering wheel off of the shaft, the steering shaft. If anybody's got any comments or suggestions and knows how to get that steering wheel off without kind of ruining it, I've tried putting a puller on it, but the steering wheel itself is made out of plastic, and it seems to want to it's going to break the plastic, is what I'm going to say. Now there is a plate in there with a couple of threaded bolts, threaded openings that I can get bolts in. I'm not really sure if that's the key to removing it. I tried doing it, actually bent some washers, and I'll kind of actually show you that in the video update. So that's going to be in there, but basically most of it's going to be about the cab removal. So I haven't gotten the engine back from the guy that's getting the bell housing, clutch, etc. But so this video is just basically going to be about the cab removal, and I'll keep you updated on what's going on with the engine transmission. Hopefully I'll have it back this week and can start trying to mock it up into the frame, and that might be the next series. So stay tuned. Part 19. Here we are back inside the truck again, and I've got that the horn button and everything disengaged. What I'm going to do is break this nut free and try and pull the steering wheel off. I'll probably have to get a puller onto that steering wheel to get it off. One of the things is I can't believe that I didn't pick up on that four-way flasher button. As soon as I saw that thing, I instinctively remember those old buttons on the side of the steering wheel instead of having a button on the dashboard. Kind of my bad for not remembering that. But my point is I'm not really sure if I'm going to leave that button engaged as the four-way flasher, or if I will. I might have a separate button like on a control console. I'm going to have to get a puller and put that on there, but I'll bring you back for that. What I found in here was two bullet holes. What I tried to do is put a puller around here, and this is plastic and it won't really grip in there. But there was two bullet holes in beside the main shaft into, looks like it goes into the meat of the steering wheel hub. And I'm trying to pull it out. I stuck a couple of bolts in there and put some washers in and tried to grip the washers with a puller, and what it's doing right now is just bending the washers. So that's what it did to that washer. Bent it and scored it trying to pull it out. Almost looks like there's like a lock washer around that thing, and it's kind of, there looks like a gap over here, no gap over here. Let me see if I can get a pick and a screwdriver and a hammer and see if I can get that thing out of there. Okay, this is the bracket that holds the steering column on, but it also holds that drive line disengagement lever. So what I've got to do, I'm going to just pull the whole bracket off so that I can disconnect those tubes that go in there, and so that I can disconnect them tubes and pull them out of the firewall. So when I pull the cab off, those things will be disconnected from. I'm not really sure. I haven't crawled under the truck and looked, but the lines appear to be hydraulic, and I've got to assume that they're run off of the brake system. I'm not really sure of that, but I've got to disconnect that wiring loom and get that off of there, disconnect them hoses and pull them out of there, and that's what they are, is hoses. So I'll bring you back. Well, whatever they are, they weren't very tight. Okay. There's no sign of any fluid in it. Was it an air thing? But there was no compressor on the engine. So I pulled the lines out that fed the drive shaft disconnect, and just as a reference, it worked off a vacuum. Those lines were connected to a vacuum, the vacuum line. So this plunger worked off of a vacuum to disconnect that drive shaft. Okay. I was kind of stuck on that vacuum advance because, I'm familiar with vacuum advance as far as advancing ignitions, assist on brakes, stuff like that. But the biggest thing that I remember is the vacuum windshield wipers, which never worked. You know what I mean? You would speed up and the windshield wipers would stop. So I guess I was pretty amazed. The things that were run off of vacuum on this engine, especially that drivetrain disengagement function. And let's stop and take a look at it. But I'm just totally amazed that the damn thing was ran off a vacuum system and not air pressure or hydraulics or something like that. But I'm just going to show you, and then we'll continue on. Here we go. This is a unit. And those two lines that are going to it is the vacuum lines from that switch that powered this thing. Now this backside of it was a brake, parking brake, but it's still pretty hard to believe that the vacuum system engaged and disengaged the drivetrain just using vacuum pressure from the engine. Vacuum lines are disconnected. I just got to go under the truck, find out what anything else that needs to be done. So I got everything disconnected. I disconnected those brake lines. Of course, the vacuum lines that disconnect the drive shaft. Took the vacuum thing off. I also disconnected the brake line for the master cylinder. There's one wire, this wiring harness that goes under there probably was for the tail lights. Now I could unplug it there, leave the wiring harness on the frame, but what I think I'm going to do is the wire's all been cut off going towards the back because the lights were part of the tank assembly. So I'm just going to cut it back there and disconnect it so it stays attached to the cab. Now, the one thing that I do want to show you is what I'm thinking about doing is removing the doors before I pull the cab off of, just to lower the weight. Not that the weight's going to be that heavy, it's probably going to be pretty light, but I really don't want to screw the mirrors up just in case something happens. So those mirrors are actually in pristine condition, and I really don't want to screw them up. So what I'm going to do is I think what I'm going to do is pull the doors off of it so that I can set the doors aside when I take the cab off. But anyway, so bring it back. I'm going to be taking the doors off before I pull the cab off of the frame. The other day I went underneath it, sprayed those frame bolts, and there's only 4 of them that hold the cab onto the frame. I sprayed them with PB Blaster so that, because they are on the bottom of the truck and they did get the majority of the junk on them. I'm just going to stick the bolts back into where they go so that I won't lose them or mix them up. We're on the passenger side door now. I was kind of amazed. I took that door and put it over by one of the racks or shelf systems. Kind of amazed at how heavy it actually was. Just, they really don't make stuff like that anymore. Okay, got the bolts out of the passenger side door, so. Yeah, I got it off. It's just awkward for me. I've screwed my thumb up in a cross-country skiing accident, and well, it wasn't really an accident. Screwed my thumb up cross-country skiing, and it's hard for me to push it with that thumb at a certain angle, and what I was trying to do was kind of a reverse push it while I was holding up on the thing so it didn't drop. But I got it. Just giving you guys a little shot here of the cab. I just took the doors off. Kind of wanted to show it to you. Those doors are pretty heavy. I mean, kind of heavier than you expect. You're kind of used to the junk that they build cars out of now, and you kind of get complacent and lose track that you're dealing with something old school and made out of real metal. Here they are. I just got them setting up here a little bit. There's a couple. I hammered this one out with a dolly and a body hammer. Just a little, it looks like where somebody rubbed the fender or had something in the fender and it just bent the lip over a little bit. I'm gonna fix them up. One of the things that I do want to try and do is those bolts apparently aren't stainless steel on the mirrors, and that's kind of one of the things that I'm going to be doing. as I've said in previous videos on the truck, replacing the mirrors with heated mirrors. There's going to be a wide angle or wide view mirror below, a circular wide view mirror below, which is going to be heated also. So there's a couple of holes that I have to go through the door to accept the wires for the heaters in the mirrors, but I'll show you that when I get to it. Just a shot of the inside of the cab. I've got the two front bolts out. I had to pull them cover plates off of there, like I said before in another video. But I got the bolt out on that side, and I got the bolt out on that side. Now, figuring out kind of their logic when they built this thing, I'm assuming that those two covers that you see right there, this one and that one, is the top of the covers for the bolt. That's a channel that it goes up into, so I've got to assume that those conceal, I'll pull them out and they conceal the bolts down into for the two rear cab suspension bolts. And as I had guessed, they are the suspension bolts for the top of the bolt for the cab. Okay, I know the cab will come up. What I've got to do, it is front heavy, very front heavy. So what it does is it catches on the front fork, but it does not catch that back fork. So what I've got to do is try and strap it down to that back fork so that it kind of picks it up evenly. I'm going to have an issue positioning it to get out of here, so, or get out of there, I should say. So let me try and reposition it a little bit, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm going to go handheld here, just show you the frame after I got it off. After I just do a kind of a brief walk around on this frame, I'm going to critique me taking that off and explain something to you guys. Actually, that frame is in really good shape. Okay, let's talk about me taking the thing off of there. You saw me pick it up. What happened is it was front heavy. It pivoted on that front fork. I came in from the side, so the front fork, it pivoted down onto that fork, took all the weight off of the back fork. You saw the board fall off. What I did is just try to tie a strap around it. Excuse me. Thinking that that would hold it up, and it didn't. So the board just kind of fell off of the back but it was kind of balanced or teetering on the front fork, and it was good. You probably seen it wiggle a lot as I backed up, and it had nothing to do with it being on the fork. It had everything in the world to do with this floor and that grate that I had to go over. As soon as I hit that grate, it started teetering and rocking, making the cab rock and teeter. But anyways, so that's the explanation for it. Now, there are guys that take Ford cabs off of the frames, and probably a lot of people know who they are. They're if you have ever worked on a Ford diesel engine, you know that you've got to pull the cab off of it to have access to get the heads off and have access to the engine. There are guys out there that can probably pull a cab off of a cab off of a cabin box. Let me put it that way: cabin box off of a Ford pickup truck, probably within a matter of hours. It took me a long time because I didn't know where the balance point was, how this thing was going to pick up, so I was kind of a little hesitant picking it up. Picked it up gingerly just so that it came off of the frame, and then once I realized that it was going to balance like that, then I had to walk around and make sure that I had everything disconnected, all the wires and everything disconnected. But anyways, here it is. What my plan is right now to do is set that on a skid so that I can pick it up and move it around by using a skid underneath it instead of putting strain on that roof or those door openings. So not that it weighs that much, but I'd rather do it that way. So here it is off. It's going to get moved. This is going to come down. I've got to get a hold of that guy about seeing what the cost is to do that blasting on the frame. But here it is. That'll probably be the end of this chapter. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a comment, rate it, subscribe.